Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Bloomie Brained podcast, where you come to water and nourish your brain, in turn seeing your mind, body, and spirit bloom. Today on the show, we have a very special guest. Welcome, Julian Smith.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Nice to finally have you on. He is the owner of Brighterlight Media. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. What you been up to lately?
Oh, man. We're about to talk about it, I think, today.
Yeah.
There's been a lot.
Yeah, you kind of alluded to that when I walked in here and said that you've been pretty busy lately. So that's really exciting. Why don't you tell the show a little bit about what you do and what Brighterlight Media is?
Absolutely. So I am a videographer, photographer. I like to call myself a filmmaker sometimes, but I haven't really gotten into the film side of things. I do weddings, real estate, corporate branding, web development, and I also help my wife, which we're in her shop right now, Keeping It Glam. I helped her build her business as well.
Yeah.
So other than that, that's who I am.
That's incredible. And for those of you that don't know, Taylor was on the show, his wife, two episodes ago now. I want to say it was episode 18. Yeah, because this is 21. So yeah, like he said, this is her studio and they work together, which is really cool. And you guys are always hustling, always grinding. I'm such a fan of your marriage and what you guys stand for, your core values, and the all in all good energy that you guys have created and the empire that you guys are building in this community. I mean, truly, it's crazy how fast you guys are growing. What do you have to say there?
Oh man, I will say that it didn't always look like this, and it has been a lot of team effort, a lot of creativity, a lot of strategizing, a lot of failure. That's really the biggest thing, is we failed multiple times, and I think that's why we're at where we're at, because we took those failures and we were like, how can we do something different? What can we do differently? How can we do it right? But building the empire, it's definitely been one of those journeys where you think you know what you expect and you think you know what's going to happen, but at the end of the day, you never really know.
Yeah, and I love that you put it like that you had to kind of go through some of the failures to get to where you are today, because I forget which guest it was that went on the Ed Milet podcast, and he said, you go to these big business conferences that are filled with the world's top millionaires and billionaires, and they're not success conferences, they're failure conferences actually, because each of these people have failed at numerous things, and it took that before, they hit it big with the one thing that brought them there. So it's kind of cool to hear that so many of them connect and bond over these quote unquote failures.
Right.
What would you say in your life, this can be a person, or maybe it's, something like nature or the beach, but what inspires you as a creator?
That's a really good question. And I actually was thinking really hard about that, because I'll have conversations with my parents sometimes, and I'm just like, it's really interesting, the drive and motivation that I have and the creativity that I have, but there's no one that I really look up to. And my whole entire life, I hear people in sports basketball players talking about how they look up to LeBron James, or football players, LeBron James. And I played all these sports and I never looked up to anybody, and I got into the business industry, and I wouldn't really say I look up to anybody.
Yeah.
But what inspires me to do what I do, I think it's the freedom and the capacity to do things how I want them done.
Ooh, I like that.
And it's not necessarily an individual, but I think it's the law of being free from the system and being able to produce and make money and build a team off of how I want it done, or how Taylor wants it done, and how I want to do things. So I think the inspiration comes from the idea of being free from the system and being free from the corporate madness that we have here.
Absolutely. And you guys have definitely cultivated just that in each of your businesses. And I feel like, because, we've known each other. We're both, for those of you that don't know, we're both from Fayetteville. So we go back a little ways. I feel like you've always kind of had a very entrepreneurial mindset. Would you say so?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That takes me back to a story. I was actually thinking about this before our podcast. When I was 9 or 10 years old, I used to go to Walmart and my parents would give me like $4 or $5 to go to the arcade. Mm-hmm. And in that arcade was one of those claw machine games where you could win those stuffed animals.
Yeah.
And I got super good at it and I started building a collection. And my parents are like, okay, you need to chill out. Why don't you go play the racing game? And I was like, okay. I was like, do you need me to get rid of these? And they were like, no, but like, you just need to be mindful. Like you have a lot of stuffed animals and there's nowhere to put them.
Been playing that claw too much.
Yes, I was playing the claw too much. But I got the idea to sell them. Mm-hmm. So keep in mind, I'm 9, 10 years old. I go up in the attic and my mom's helping me and I get this big box and I put all the stuffed animals in the box. And I walk around my neighborhood and I knock on people's doors and I start selling those stuffed animals.
Wait, that is amazing. So you're making what you spent back and then more.
Yes, and then
assumingly.
I started playing it again. And I did a round 2. And I tell you what, people were buying those teddy bears.
Oh my gosh. You're like, y'all, these are straight from the claw. I don't know if you have the skill, but I have the skill to get them out. Because I always thought the claw was just like a fake game to get our money. But apparently some people win at it.
Yep. It's all about the angles.
You're making additional profits on top of that. So that is crazy to think that that's been in you. That is you. And that child has carried through now to an adult and you're still here, which isn't surprising for me personally, knowing that you're a Capricorn, and Capricorns are some of just the most work driven, motivated. And that's why I wanted to kind of have this episode with we can talk about anything on here today, but I really wanted it with the general theme of motivation, because you're someone that inspires me on a daily basis to keep going, keep at it. And you are always very regimented with things. And that's why I wanted to ask you, what habits did you ditch what habits did you ditch that upon giving them up, you immediately understood why it was crucial to leave them in the past?
That's a great question. And I wish I had that just awesome answer for you, but really it wasn't something where it immediately happened.
Yeah.
It was me battling habits that were stopping me from operating at my fullest potential. Mm-hmm. That I knew deep down I needed to get rid of, but life happens, circumstances happen, stress happens.
Yeah.
And I wasn't necessarily able to just recognize it right off the bat. But something recently that I have really started paying attention to is being overstimulated. Mm-hmm. And one of the habits that I'm giving up right now is I've deleted social media off my phone.
Oh, that's good.
And the only time that I check my social media is when I'm sitting at the computer. Because what I started doing was I started realizing that I was starting my day being concerned and consumed with Instagram and Facebook instead of really just sitting there writing out a plan for the day, thinking about a plan, going over what I have to do. I'd go straight to my phone.
Yeah.
And that by far, I think for productivity killed it, because I was so consumed and overstimulated by scrolling.
Yeah.
That now I'm starting my mornings with just laying in bed, praying, thinking about what the day is going to be like. I take my walk. I do 15 minutes of picking up around the house, and I just get everything organized.
Yeah.
So I would say definitely for me, the habit that killed my productivity, but I'm just now learning to control it, would be my phone.
Yeah. And that's a really good one. I feel that so many people can resonate with this. It can be very hard to put down our phones, not look at social media, but it can be so rejuvenating and cleansing to basically not be chained to it, not be a slave to it. And there's this quote I love. It's, are you using the phone or is the phone using you? Because I do believe that when you're starting your day and just scrolling, the phone is using you at that point. The phone is catering the ads, the algorithm, all of the different things to exactly what it knows that you want to see.
Yep.
And And before you know it, you resent yourself and you're mad that you wasted all of this time when it could have been spent doing XYZ that are far more productive than seeing the sandwich your friend made or this video or that video, or, not that social media is not good. There's so much, the connectivity and everything like that. And
global audience.
Yeah, global audience. Just the power of promoting your business, basically for free. There's so much good to be said, but I do feel that this is where we have to come in and kind of parent our inner child. Our parents aren't parenting us anymore. We have to parent ourselves and limit that time. Sometimes I even have mentioned to people as well, what are your thoughts on, when parents are giving their children phones at an early age? Do you think that parents are kind of handing their children an addiction? Because I know some people argue at one side. I see both sides. I think that it's a great measure to take for safety precautions, but I also think if you're thinking, what is it, the frontal cortex of the brain is our capability. Well, that doesn't finish growing or, closing off until we're about 26. So that's our long-term decision-making ability and skills. So you think about, you were so excited to have phones. We're like, yes. And then now we're older and we kind of see the effects playing out, like, wow, sometimes it is hard to put our phones away because we were handed these at such an early age. I'm older than both of my sisters, and I certainly can see it more so in them that they're a little bit more inclined to scrolling than I, especially our youngest sister, a little bit more inclined to scrolling. So what do you have to say there?
Here's what I have to say. I think that it's up to you on how you can use these tools. And there's always a negative and there's always a positive to anything that you do, but it's up to you to be responsible with the tool that you're given.
Yeah.
And with phones and social media, to answer your question, I don't think particularly that I'm going to be giving our kids a phone. And the reason being is because when you're young, you shouldn't be stressed out and worried about what's on the internet, what other people are doing online. You need to be outside. You need to be in the woods. You need to learn how to ride a bike. You need to be surfing. You need to go to the beach and build sandcastles. And obviously, at the end of the day, where our society is heading to, it's a society built around technology and built around social media consumption and media consumption. And I want to be able to expose our children to a more healthy and positive and happy environment, because what's going to end up happening when parents give these children their phone, the kids are going to start acting out, and the parent's not going to know why, and the kid's not going to know why. And it's because that they're overstimulated and they're consuming too much. Yeah.
Wow. There is just so much to even unpack there. I thought of so many different things as you were speaking. Just the overstimulation. And, again, I feel that there can be this kind of general theme of keep your phone on you, have your phone on you at all times, which in turn is looking at the phone, using the phone, scrolling the phone. And if you're not using it in a positive way as a tool, you're just using it aimlessly, let's say because you're bored or literally just because it's there. That is when so much negativity is created. And this brings me to one of the things that I tell people so often, one of the best supplements that you can take on a daily basis is magnesium, because if you are, our bodies were not built for the amount of stress that we're enduring from social media these days. And when we become stressed, we magnesium dump. Our body is depleted of magnesium. So let's rewind to, the beginning of time when all we had to get stressed about on a weekly basis was maybe one time a week you were being chased, or your family was endangered by an animal near your village. that was the one thing that you got stressed about, and your body dumped that magnesium, and then you weren't stressed about anything else seemingly, let's say for days or maybe another week. So your body had time to replenish that magnesium. Nowadays, you can get stressed out by an endless amount of things in under 60 seconds on social media.
Multiple times.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, I mean, just that alone, thinking about children and social media and not being able to fully comprehend like what they're seeing, what it means, how to apply it to their life, if they shouldn't apply it to their life, like all of these different things. They don't necessarily have the coping skills for these devices that they're being handed. Hell, I think a lot of adults don't have the coping skills for, you know, what we're seeing on here and just the exponential rate at which we're able to consume.
And you know what's interesting too is, and this is something I'm becoming more aware of, but when you are overstimulated and you're over consuming things on your phone and media or anything in general, food, tobacco, alcohol, your behavior starts to change. And you might not notice it, but other people might notice it. And sometimes people could be like, well, what's wrong with me? Or why am I acting like this? And it's literally, you're doing it to yourself. Yeah. And I think awareness is one of the biggest things that our society is missing, because it's so much easier just to dismiss, and it's so much easier to get lost in your phone. But speaking about creativity is formed and structured in boredom. And that's where I get a lot of my ideas when I do my fast and I stop eating. I do one meal a day, or I do a social media fast. The ideas nonstop. Yeah. Because now I'm opening myself to be able to receive these things instead of overstimulating myself with information and data.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said there. It's like having that open channel to receive that source information and just idea after idea after idea. It certainly is shut down when we're tuning into these things that can become addictive, like, you know, drinking, eating, social media. So yeah, that's, I definitely agree with you there. It is the times that I'm able to quiet my mind the most and just be me in my present state, that I'm able to receive the most abundance in my life and kind of listen to where the wind is blowing me and where I need to go next. So what would you say, where are you guys going next business wise? Do you want to share a little bit about what you've been working on?
That's a great question. I'm gonna be honest with you. We have plans, and you always have plans, but somehow life just kind of redirects those plans. Yeah. And what me and Taylor's plan is right now is we eventually want to collide both of our businesses where we're working hand in hand together. So Taylor's getting her certification in airbrush makeup, and I'm filming weddings. I do about 30 a year. And what we want to do is we want to have a Keep in a Glam Brighterlight Media package. And this will really work well if we can target local clients, brides, and have them come to the shop Friday, Saturday, close the shop down, let her do her airbrush makeup. We have a hairdresser downstairs, let her do all the ladies' hair, and then go off to the wedding. There's like 4 local downtown venues. So that's the people that I'm trying to target the most. So we can just kind of like walk or, you know, take an Uber or take a little scooter ride over to the venue. But me and Taylor are really trying to start collaborating more and trying to combine more of what we do, because we realize that we both have skills that we can both offer our clients that give them the ultimate experience. Yeah, absolutely. And where we're headed with the shop now is, it's one of those things where I was telling you, you learn from your failures. We've been a commissioned shop for the past year, and it's not really working out too well because we're getting a lot of those artists that are brand new that think that they can go out and run their own studio the way that we do. And it's just caused a lot of headaches. So what we really learned to do is we're like, okay, if this isn't working, then we need to stop what we're doing and we need to figure out another plan. And what our plan is we want to turn this shop, Keeping It Glam, into a booth rental place, so we can grab these stylists that really care about what they do, that are very passionate about servicing their clients, and all they want to do is rent our space. And we want to make this kind of like a hub of all the top artists in the area where they're not necessarily working for us, but they're working with us collectively.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think that being able to open those channels up to where you guys are able to work in each other's presence even more than you do now will be so much fun. And also just, it says a lot about the two of you to be able to look at something and instead of getting emotional about it, because I just personally don't believe in mixing business and emotion. If you want to get emotional about it, take it home that evening or leave it at the door before you ever. Yeah. There's a time and a place for it. But when it comes to business is your bread and butter, what pays your bills, what puts food on your table. There's no need to be emotional. So for you guys to be able to just look at that and be like, this is what it is. We're not going to box it up and make it all pretty and not look at it and just go on about life. We're going to tackle it head on and we're going to kind of navigate and reroute ourselves. And I noticed this about you and Taylor as well. We always, all three of us collectively bond over not enjoying to be people that complain. We don't ever want to complain. It's like our time is precious and, the things that we say are precious. Our time is money. So if you can do something to better help yourself in the present moment and your future self to come, that is going to help you not experience just an abundance of feeling down, feeling low, should I do this? Should I do that? Go ahead and nip it in the bud and say, I'm going to go ahead and do this and take the risk rather than forever holding my peace and wondering. And, if it works, great. If not, we will reroute again rather than, just complaining, oh, things aren't working, blah, blah, blah.
I think that's the blueprint right there is what you just said. And I think that's what makes great business people great. And also why people fail in entrepreneurship. You have to learn how to control your emotions. And you have to look at everything that happens in your entrepreneurial journey as a lesson. And you're the student and the entrepreneurship is the teacher. And the second that you can realize that your emotions can keep you away from some of the greatest gifts that life is trying to give you, you'll realize that you don't need to be emotional about everything. And the thing about being emotional is that's what normally keeps people up at night is they think back to their day and they're just like, oh man, I shouldn't have done this. Or, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. But in reality, all you're doing is making it harder for yourself because you've already done it.
Absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I think too, that sometimes in a business realm of things, people can become a little bit sheepish and get nervous when the emotions are not all happy. But if you look at the emotion wheel, there are only two emotions with a positive connotation, and one is happiness, and the other one actually goes both ways. It's surprise. Surprise can be negative or positive. So really it is, just that happiness is the only emotion that is truly the most positive connotation. And that's how we navigate life, is some of these emotions that we feel, anger, frustration, anxiety even, these are survival skills. This is how you survive. So sometimes numbing them, not wanting to, I don't want to feel anxiety, I don't want to feel depressed, join the club. None of us do. None of us do. They're not always pleasant. We're all human and we all experience them from time to time. And I'm not by any means debunking anybody that needs extra focus on their anxiety or, some of their stuff with their emotions. I am not taking away from anyone at all. Everybody is different. But I think that if more people just knew, hey, happiness is the only one with that positive connotation, it would make people feel a lot more it would make them feel less alone in life and then navigating some of these things, certainly through business. It's not always going to feel that pleasant because it's survival in a sense. And the two primal human instincts are survival and mating, and under survival is business. So you have to have that like bull shark alpha energy navigating some of these things. So I like that you guys, really are capable of just embracing all of your emotions through every season of life and business, and just saying, you know, being open and saying, okay, God, like, where to next? I'm in the driver's seat, but you're navigating, you know? So just really being open and expansive with it.
I think too, just kind of going off of what you just said. Yeah. The best advice that I could give somebody too that is in this entrepreneurial experience or trying to run their own business is you have to stay excited. And if you talk to a lot of people, what you end up finding out is a lot of people are anxious because they don't know what's next. And when you are on salary and you are working at the car dealership, you know your job every single day is to sell those cars and talk to people and sign the bottom line. Yeah. But when you're running your business, it can be a little scary because at the end of the day, it's different every single day. And there's the emotion of excitement, like you said, and then there's the emotion of anxiety. Yeah. And both of those emotions can feel the same exact way if you don't have the awareness about it. Yeah. So what I like to tell people is if you're feeling anxious about something, try to change your perspective and tell yourself that you're getting excited about it. And that is the best way to kind of overcome that fear and the stress, because when you're excited about something, well, how do you look? You're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to do this. Like, I'm so excited for this opportunity. But when you're anxious, you're like, I'm not ready. I can't do this. I'm not good enough for this. So it's that feeling, and it's you choosing which way to feel. Yeah. Anxious or excited.
Exactly. And there was this quote that I read one time. It was like, it is physically impossible for you to fear something without being interested in it.
Exactly.
So if you're fearful of it, that means you're interested in it. Yep. So you should probably run towards it and go check it out. Go see what's in the box.
Open mind.
Yes, absolutely. And life is more exciting that way, you know, and just anything. This earth is literally more, you know, energy than it is matter. So anything exists in the quantum realm. It truly is just tuning into it and making sure that you are at the frequency to receive it. Yep. Which brings me to, what do you think about, you know, low frequency, high frequency? Are you capable of telling when your frequency has been lowered? A perfect example of this is after you've been drinking, you know? Yep. Are you capable of telling when you're around people that are lowering your frequency?
So I'll put it to you like this. I would say I am aware and I do know, because my main form of communication now is how I feel. Yeah. And I can feel a lot of things coming off a lot of different people. And I know those people that have ill intentions, and I can feel when those people are happy for me. I can feel when people are excited, I can feel when people are confused and conflicted. So dealing with the high frequency and the low frequency, I've kind of gotten to a place in my life where I'm not going to put myself around those people that have that low frequency. Yeah. And if they do, I'll be super polite, and I'll just be like, hey, you know, I don't want to be around this environment. I don't want to be around these groups of people, because the most important thing to me and my wife is our peace. Yeah. And if you can make a high priority of focusing on your peace and how much you care about your peace, you won't really find yourself in those situations. Yeah. And now obviously, you know, life happens. You want to have fun. You go to the bar, you start drinking. You're going to be around that you're not really choosing to be. But I can say it destroys your focus. It destroys productivity, and it destroys, whenever you're in the process of building something, it definitely does get in the way and it hinders it for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what you said there about just being so protective of your peace, I think that is something that more people need to be aware of. I think that it's something most of us yearn for, but I do believe that it is increasingly hard to sometimes implement that. FOMO. Oh my gosh. I was literally just thinking that, like, when people are inviting you and, you know, you want to go, but it's the teeter-totter of, okay, here's fun on one side, but here's my peace on the other. Are they going to merge today? Am I going to have to choose one or the other? Am I going to regret my decision tomorrow? So yeah, I do think that prioritizing your peace can be one of the most challenging
yet blissful things to
absolutely
that you can ever do for yourself.
I think it's very important.
Yeah, I agree with you there. What are 3 unique skills that you possess that have helped you to become successful?
So definitely number 1 is resilience. Mm-hmm. And basically what that looks like for me is I've had 3 surgeries. I've had a lot of failures. I have gone through 2 identity crises where I thought growing up in high school and going into college that I was going to let my athletic abilities kind of take control, take the reins, and make a living for myself. I was refereeing varsity soccer. I was getting ready to do D3 refereeing. So a lot of my physical talents that I once had, I no longer have anymore. And if you knew me back in the day, you knew how important it was for me to be able to do things that a normal person couldn't do, whether that was running up the wall and doing a backflip or planking on top of Taco Bell. Yeah, parkour. So resilience has really been very, very strong in my life because what I've been through at the age of 27, it definitely would have crippled somebody and would have been a huge impalement in their life and, pressing forward.
Yeah.
The second one would definitely be courage. Because you have to be courageous, not only in this life, but also as a business owner in the entrepreneurial journey. And there's not a lot of things I can really say that scare me. And I am always excited in the face of fear. And these types of things really, really get me excited. It gets my adrenaline going. I'm definitely an adrenaline junkie 100%. But since I can't really do those risky things that I used to do, like running up the wall and doing backflips and climbing on top of buildings, I've transitioned that energy into building a business.
Yeah.
And the third thing, to be honest with you, I want to say is patience. And the reason why I say patience, sometimes I'm not good with it in my personal life, and I can work on patience. But when it comes to building and constructing something that is going to be an empire, sometimes people can look at you. For example, I did $18,000 my first year, and everyone thought I was crazy that I was going to be making videos the rest of my life. But I knew what I was trying to do, and I knew exactly where I was headed.
Yep.
And it didn't matter what anyone else said. All that mattered is I knew what I was trying to do, and I was going to be patient doing it.
That is beautiful. And
all those 3 things collectively together, that definitely has been what has carried me and given me momentum into what I'm doing right now.
I have chills right now just listening to you say that, especially the last thing about honing in on your belief, your vision for what you not thought you could be, know that you could be, know that you had the potential for, and to possess and, really reel in the life that you wanted to live, that you wanted to cultivate for your wife and yourself. And I think, so it makes me think about the book, Think and Grow Rich. There was a story in there. I cannot remember if it was Einstein or Edison, but those are, the 2 biggest inventors in the entire world. And you have to think about what they were proposing. I mean, think about it.
Yep.
This was, we didn't have light yet. Light was not here. We were not able to, send things at light speed. Like what they were proposing was absolutely
ridiculous,
outlandish. Yes. And, some of their friends, when they heard their ideas, some of their friends suggested like checking them into a mental facility. They were like, they've gone crazy, they're unwell, this is unhinged behavior. But they kept to the message. They kept that belief in themselves. And then they're not even around anymore, but look at all that we have, the phones, the lights. Yeah, this wouldn't be happening in here without their belief, their, what do people call it? Delusional confidence. It sometimes does take delusional confidence, because I believe that delusional confidence simply put, is basically keeping a bubble around you and not letting anybody poke into that bubble, burst it, like you're keeping the energy, you're keeping the frequency, and you're going for it. So that is so beautiful. I love all 3 of your answers. So resilience, courage, and patience.
That's it. The 3 main ingredients.
I love that. I'm going to switch it up a little bit here. I want to talk about your relationship and you as a husband, just because we asked Taylor some of these, I asked Taylor some of these questions a few episodes ago. But as a husband, what do you think the one thing for certain is that you need to be doing for your wife to keep that spark alive, especially when things get busy, being that you guys are business partners?
Great question. And there's probably going to be a lot of men out there that completely disagree with what I'm about to say. But this is from my own personal experience and comes straight from my heart.
Yeah.
So I truly believe in giving your spouse, man to a woman, the gift of confidence, and also pouring in and helping them create and construct their crazy ideas and bring them to life and make them a reality. So every time Taylor comes to me with an idea, every time Taylor comes to me with something she wants to do or something she's interested in, I'm 150% more interested than she is, because I want to make it happen for her.
Wow.
And that is definitely something that takes a lot of practice, because it's removing yourself and how you feel about the idea and focusing on how important it is to your wife.
Yeah.
That she can do this, that she wants to do this, that she wants to try to do this. So I definitely would say we keep our spark, because I'm constantly nurturing her dreams and I'm constantly nurturing her confidence.
Yeah. Well, I love this so much, because you basically took my answer for this question and magnified it astronomically. So my answer was going to be just a listening ear.
Yep.
Like someone just to listen, even if, you could care less about what the drama is or what no, I take that back. Saying you could care less. You should care, because if it's your partner, if it's your wife, you should want to know every single thing that they have. The second their mouth opens, those ears should be on. And I think that as a female myself, it is so easy to just feel like someone's little, eye candy or just an accessory to their lifestyle. So to actually have a man that wants to not only listen to you, but then almost be more into what you're telling them than you even were when you came to tell them. Like that is truly beautiful, monumental. And I think that so many men need to hear that and need to hear this conversation, because women want to be heard. We want to be seen. We don't want to feel small. We don't want to feel minimized. If you're calling us your partner, we want to feel like that. We want to feel like you're equal. So, treat us how you would treat one of your friends. Treat us how you would treat a man that you deem as your equal. So the fact that you do that and you build her up just on a daily basis, and you believe in the boss that she is just incredible, and makes me so happy for you guys. And like I always say, like I look to you guys are like my shiny example of a beautiful marriage, in your 20s.
But I will say this, it's taken a lot of work, and it's not something that I'm going to sit up here and say that I've always been good at. And it's not something I'm going to sit up here and say that's extremely easy to do, because it's not. This is 6 years of me and her working countless nights, days, fights, disagreements, agreements. This is the product of 2 people giving up everything and focusing on one thing, and that is building a bond. Yeah. And one thing that I want to kind of like top on to what you just asked me is your belief system is everything. And if you have a partner that is constantly telling you that your ideas are dumb, that you can't achieve this, then you're going to start believing that, because a man's authority and a man's voice and a man's opinion holds a lot of weight to females. And that is something that I'm starting to really learn. And one thing that I really, 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 really tried to instill into Taylor, and it's definitely paying off, is I want her to believe that she's capable of doing anything that she tries to do. And she knows that I'm 100% behind her when she does it. Yeah,
that's incredible. And just so amazing to hear. God, that's so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Absolutely.
And it makes me so happy to just see where you guys are going to go, where you guys are going to grow. And the fact that it's already been 6 years. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Where has time
I know, right? Time is just a construct of your imagination. No, I'm just kidding.
Time is just a figment, an illusion of your
Yep.
imagination. Okay, so I want to ask you, I'm going to switch it up again. Why do you think we're in the middle of a mental health crisis here in America, specifically amongst the youth, like around our age and younger?
Oh man. I think it's because everyone's trying to be something that they're not. Mm-hmm. And I think that this is where social media comes into play. You know, you have this kid that's extremely talented in music and he can play the piano like no one else can, but it's not popular on social media or it's not popular in his friend group. So he starts to believe that what he's doing doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I think it's the drastic and the just ugly comparisons that people have and the ideas that the media sells you. It starts ruining people's confidence and direction in life. So I really think it's just that people aren't cultivating their uniqueness anymore. I think that's what we've really lost. And I think that's why mental health is so the way that it is, because I'll tell you right now, I cultivate my uniqueness. Mm-hmm. And that is a foundation and a fundamental practice that I practice, whether my parents agree with it, whether my friends agree with it, because I have lost friends cultivating my uniqueness.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree there.
And I think that's where people are becoming so depressed, is because they're trying to be something and try to be somebody and creating this idea of what will make them happy instead of them just being who they're supposed to be.
And so, yeah, sometimes being who you're supposed to be does come with being alone. When I kind of, even myself, career shifted things over a bit and really changed my lifestyle, slowed the pace down a bit, I lost a lot of my friends that were just kind of around, when we were partying. Yep. And then it's kind of like, okay, this is interesting. I'm not hanging out with X, Y, and Z anymore, but it's because I used to see them in, this setting that I was tuning into quite often. Yep. And it's not that you have any hard feelings with anybody, but it's like, when you fully decide to become immersed in yourself and your creative pursuits, it does start to feel like this energy of, okay, I'm the lone wolf. Yep. So you can either embrace that at times, and, keep the ones around that support you no matter what, and that they're a friend no matter what environment, or you can, let it scare you and fall back into, okay, let me, I'm scared to be alone with myself. Let me continue to pour myself into these people, these things, these habits. I was
just thinking about this in my head. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Don't serve me anymore. Yeah. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, so I was getting ready to say, I think another thing is people are scared to be alone.
Yes.
But what people don't understand about when you're alone, that's the best time to focus on yourself. Mm-hmm. And you can't be alone if you're constantly obsessed with who's on your friends list and who's liking your photos. And you can't be alone if you're hanging out with the wrong people and you're choosing to follow the crowd because that's what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, if you really, really think about it, and I personally experienced it, so I know how powerful this is, your alone time is one of the most sacred things that you are gifted in this life. Mm-hmm. Because that's the time where you not only get to figure out yourself, but you get to figure out what you want. Mm-hmm. And when you realize that it's not about how many friends you have, and it's not about the car that you drive, and it's not about impressing people, it's really, honestly, at the end of the day, it's about figuring out who you are, going into the world with that uniqueness, with that motivation to be different. That's what really matters. And I think a lot of people are just scared to be alone.
Yeah. Couldn't agree with you more there. And I was just telling someone the other day, I was like, people don't realize when you're alone, but you're on social media, still connecting, still tapping in, you're still not truly alone. Nope. Like really remove yourself and challenge yourself to be fully alone. Mm-hmm. And then, you will feel it. You will feel that mental bliss. And it is one of the most sacred things that you could ever gift yourself, is the gift of just being alone in your solitude. Now, what do you think school systems could do differently or begin to implement that could help future generations to future generations to come?
It's a good question. I actually didn't see this one on your prompt, but this is something that I'm definitely becoming passionate about as me and Taylor start talking about a family.
Yeah. Exciting.
Yeah, it is very exciting. It's very exciting. And also at the same time, it's like, wow, like we're going to be able to create a human being.
Yeah. Like the best creation that there ever was. So that's so exciting.
So here's my answer. So first of all, the education system was constructed and built by our government to keep us working for them and their corporations our whole entire life. And we never really learned the true value of critical thinking and self-awareness. Mm-hmm. So what I think that they can do different in the education system is, first of all, I feel like people need to be putting their kids into monastery schools and creative learning schools, because everybody learns different. Mm-hmm. Not everyone can learn a curriculum where it's literature, math, biology, chemistry. Some people are just naturally creative and naturally musically gifted and naturally athletic. And there's so many talents that have been lost in the education system because they only focus on the core value, the core, what's it called? Do you know what I'm talking about? Just like the core of like math.
The core subjects.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I really think it's about individuality.
Yeah.
And having that one-on-one time with the student, with your kid, and just figuring out what they want to do. Because if you notice, kids aren't dumb. Kids know what they want to learn. Mm-hmm. Kids will tell you what they're interested in learning. And that's how you kill passion. That's how you kill creativity, is you make them a part of the system.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah. I think that you absolutely did. Just kind of structuring the experience of school to kind of cater more towards, maybe what these particular kids are interested in, rather than being so, you have to do this, you have to do that. And of course, we're not saying, kids are not going to get math, reading, and this and that. They should still learn it all, but definitely more of an individualized experience, I think, is what you're getting at, rather than just a one size fits all.
Yep.
And I guess for me, my answer would be, I think that meditation should be implemented in schools. It's something free to implement. The mental, physical, and spiritual and emotional benefits are, beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I just think that we could certainly use more meditation, mindfulness, and breath work in school systems. I think that implementing that would be very cool. But before we close out here, do you want to share with the audience one thing about yourself that most people are not aware of?
Oh man, you put me on the spot like that. Let's see. I think honestly, when people see me on social media or people meet me in person, a lot of times I have people coming up to me and say, wow, I had no idea that this is who you were. And what I mean by that is I'm a very caring, charismatic, empathetic, understanding person. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure where the ideas come from, but what I do know is I have a big teddy bear heart, and only certain people get to see that heart. But for the most part, I care a lot about people. I care a lot about my family, and I'm extremely passionate.
I love that. And I can certainly attest to that. Well, you guys heard it here first. Thank you so much for tuning in today to the Bloomie Brained podcast. And thank you for being here, Julian.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Until next time.
Peace.